Hello and welcome back to Data Science for Humans. Today we're going to be looking at how to filter data using Python. I remember last time that I was saying we would get right into doing regression analysis using Python, but patience is a virtue. Not really. We need to look at how to filter data, and then, I promise, we'll take a look at how to run a basic regression analysis using Python. So just to set this up, we're not doing anything too crazy. We're using our data file 2429, which has been pulled from the Ontario Open Data Catalog. And this is a list of youth crimes by severity. This will be available on the Data Science for Humans blog post website, and the link is provided in the video description below. All we're doing so far is importing the CSV file and cleaning it. You can see that we've got our data frame. Also, we're renaming the columns. We have our data frame with our fiscal year, the severity of the crime type, and the number of them that happened in that year. Finally, we're replacing any value that has the less than 5 placeholder with the value 0. We're figuring that if it's that small, then it won't have that big of an impact on our final regression analysis. You may be wondering, how could we filter this data frame down? So let me set this up. What do we want to end up with? What I'd like to end up with is a data frame that has our year and our fiscal year and our region, and then 5 columns. Column 1 would be the serious violent crimes, second column would be thefts, third column homicides, fourth column drug crimes, and fifth column drug possession crimes. And the strategy I'm going to use to create this data frame is to create 5 smaller data frames that I will later combine together. So check this out. In order to create these smaller data frames, I'm going to filter my main data frame. So first thing I'll do is I'll create a data frame called serious violent crimes, and I'll set this equal to data 2429. Now, I'll use square brackets. This is saying I want a segment of the data 2429 data frame. And then I will specify my condition. Data 2429, where crime is equal, my double equal sign, to serious violent. Now, if I run this, you'll see that I now have a data frame that only has serious violent crimes between 2005 and 2011. Now, in order to join this together later, I want to re-index this on fiscal year and column. But I can do both of these steps in one line. Because this line's getting a bit long, I'm going to use the backslash character to tell Python I'm continuing this current line on the next line. I'm going to do set index, and I'll do fy as my first index column, and region as my second index column. Now check this out. If I run this again, you'll see that serious violent crimes, I've now got my index as 2005 fiscal year, and then the region, and now I've got severity, crime, and count. And I can do the same thing for the remaining columns: theft, homicide, drugs, and drug possession. And like any good cooking show, I prepared these ahead of time. So here we go. We have 5 data frames, each with the specific set of crimes that we want. Notice they all have the same number of rows and the same number of columns. So how are we going to combine these data frames together? What's that going to look like? Well, check this out. We can create a new data frame called data combined, and I'll set this equal to pd pandas.dataframe. And in the open brackets, I'm going to have an open square bracket, which is basically saying an array or a list. And now I will say that, and I have to use the backtick character, say that because we've got a really long line. So I'm going to use my serious violent crimes, and I just want the count column. Then I want the theft data frame, and I just want the count column. Then I want the homicide, again, just count. Then the drugs, count. And finally, and again, I need the backtick character for all this. And finally, drug possession, count column. And we're ending this whole thing off. And if we run this now, we have a data combined data frame. Let's take a look at what it looks like. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Well, somewhat. Because we've got our count is our index column, sort of. Things look a little bit strange. We need to transpose this, actually. So check this out. At the end of my data combined, where I do my data frame creation, I'm going to use .transpose. Check out what this does. So our index was actually going along the top row, and then our columns were along this row, so we had to transpose our data frame. There's some internal inner working stuff of Python that you don't necessarily need to be worried about right now, but what we need to do was transpose this data frame so that we had our index along the side here, and we have all of our counts. So now we're good to go. Now we're ready to run our analysis, except for the fact that the column names still suck. So let's change those around. So we'll do data combined dot columns is equal to open square brackets violent count, theft count, homicide count, drug traffic count, and drug possession count. There we go. Run that. We've renamed our data frame column names. There we go. We're ready to rock and roll. Now, in the next video, we will finish things off and run our regression analysis. Stay tuned.